Hello, mighty companions. This is Earl Purdy. I want to welcome you to A Course in Miracles here on Facebook Live. And we are going to continue with the function of time. What is the function of time? What's the best way to use time? How does the part of your mind that doesn't really love you and want you to be happy use time? And then how does your real self, your true self, your spiritual self uses time? This is A Course in Miracles with Earl Purdy, and we're going to get started right about now. So I want you to take a breath and go into the part of your mind that wants to change itself to a part of you that's much more sane and loving. The purpose of the course, the purpose of the course, the purpose of the course. We're going to be in the function of time, chapter 13, The Guiltless World, page 245, page 245 in the text, in the Foundation for Inner Peace version of the course. The function of time, the function of time. It's so good to be here with you. So I want to ask you to take a breath. Still that part of your mind that the Course claims is frantic with insane thoughts and worries and concerns. The part of the mind that's making any kind of fear in you, we want to let go of your fear. The purpose of the course is to let go and release any fear and anxiety. The purpose of the course is to remove the blocks to love's presence. That's why we're here. The course is a course in mind training to teach us another way of looking at the world. So what we want to say is there is another way of looking at the world. Do you know there is another way of looking at the world? There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at the world. Take a breath. And now tell yourself this. I am determined to see things differently. I am determined to see things differently. I am determined to see things differently. I am determined to see things differently, and breathe. The Course in Miracles said the only thing that can be wrong is our perception. That's the only thing that can be wrong is our perception. That's it. The only thing that can be wrong is our perception. If you have a grievance against anyone right now, or you feel a grievance against yourself right now, I would like for you to say this to yourself. If you have any kind of grievance, say this to yourself right now. If you have any grievance in any way, say this to yourself right now. Let miracles replace all grievances. Let miracles replace all grievances. Let miracles replace all grievances. Using this to let us get centered. Tell yourself this. I am entitled to miracles. 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 Say it to yourself now. I am entitled to miracles. 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 You are entitled. You are entitled. You are entitled to miracles. You're entitled to them. It's your right. I'm Earl Purdy. I want to welcome you to the Course in Miracles. And hopefully you have the Course in Miracles book if you're able to, because I'm a teacher, not a preacher.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm here to teach, not to preach. And one of the biggest challenges about the Course in Miracles actually is the Course in Miracles. The way that it's written. It's so loving. It's so loving. The Course I was reading in a workbook lesson that I had the other day, it was saying that the love of God is a love so tender and so gentle that we can't even comprehend it. You know, that it's so good and it's so loving that we can't comprehend it. So that means that we could be receiving love that we can't even comprehend right now. There could be more love in your life than you can even comprehend right now. And so what's important with the Course, I found, is he says many times in the book to read slowly, say this slowly. Give yourself a chance to hear it. So we left off from paragraph 4 on page 245 in section 4, the function of time. And the Course in Miracles is talking about fear and love. It's talking about fear and love, the fearful part of the man versus the loving part of the man. What the Course calls wrong-mindedness versus right-mindedness. And so the first sentence says, don't you know the ego has a strange notion of time? And it's with this strange notion of time that your questioning might well begins. Okay, so we're going to do what it's saying. So we're going to question, and we're going to question our notion of time, and we're going to question our notion of time that the ego has. And the ego is the fearful part of the mind, the part of the mind that's been programmed by the world, the part of the mind that believes in separation. So it says, if you have wrong-mindedness, if you're coming from your ego, if you're coming from the part of you that has anger, guilt, and grievances, the Course in Miracles says it invests, and it invests heavily. And what part of the mind that doesn't love you, what does it invest in heavily? In the past. So there's a part of our mind that's preoccupied with the past. What happened in the past? What happened yesterday? What happened when I was a kid? What happened to me in the past? So the Course says one part of our mind is totally invested heavily in the past. And not only that, do you know that there's a part of your mind that in the end believes that the past is the only aspect of time that's meaningful? So there are a lot of people when you're in your wrong-mindedness, the only thing you think is important is what happened to you in the past and what somebody did to you in the past. So when you're in your wrong-mindedness, called the ego, what are you focused on all the time? The past. What do you think happened in the past? What your mama did in the past? What your daddy did in the past? What happened in school in the past? What your lover did in the past? It's always the past. So the Course in Miracles says that, what is that next word? Remember. You know, that's the Course in Miracles says what? Remember, over and over and over and over. Remember, 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 remember. Anybody that's read this book knows that over and over and over again it says remember, 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 remember. What is it that it does not say? Analyze, 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 analyze. It only says remember, remember. What should you remember? That the part of your mind that's wrong-minded, it emphasizes guilt, because your ego emphasizes guilt, because by focusing on guilt, it ensures your ego's continuity by doing what? How do you make sure your fear and guilt and unhappiness will keep going. It says, the Course in Miracles says guilt. Guilt is the best way to keep your fear going and to keep your unhappiness going, is to focus on the past using guilt. Because if you focus on the past and you focus on guilt, it will make your future be just like your past. So if you are a person and the Course in Miracles also says that guilt is anger, that anger is guilt. They're the exact same thing. So you could also say that, remember that the ego's emphasis on anger enables the ego to ensure its continuity. What is the ego? It is the part of my mind that is focused on separation and fear and lack and worry and anger and sickness and guilt, all the stuff we don't like. Okay, so the Course in Miracles says the way you'll keep stuff going that you don't like is by avoiding right now, because it's only right now that you can change anything that you're upset about. You can only do it right now. So the part of you that doesn't love you will do everything in its power to keep you from being in the present right here, right now. And the way that it does that is you could be sitting here right now or watching this broadcast right now and thinking about something that happened in the past, or you can be sitting in here and you can be watching this and you can be thinking about something you think is going to happen and you're wondering about what's going to happen in the future. So every time you're thinking about the past or the future, you are not in the present. You're not being now. Okay, let's get that straight. See, most people think they're in the now, but they're not in the now. They're in the now thinking about the past and in the now thinking about the future. So what you're doing is avoiding now. And that's the same as saying you are avoiding love. So most people are avoiding love. Another term for love is the truth. So how do I avoid the truth? How do I avoid love? How do I avoid my peace? How do I avoid my happiness? It's through having some form of guilt about the past or anger about the past, or you constantly focused on what's going to happen next and what's going to happen in the future. Now, people ask me, well, what's going to determine your future? Well, the past will become the determiner of your future if all you're thinking about is the past. Here's the Course in Miracles definition of past. Gone. Over. Okay? So substitute gone when you say past, and you get a whole new flavor from this. It says, the ego invests heavily, the fearful part of the mind, the unhappy part of the mind, invests heavily in the gone, and in the end believes only the gone is the only aspect of time that's meaningful. Remember that the ego's emphasis on guilt enables the ego to ensure the ego's continuity by what? Making the future, which the Course defines as not yet. So the future is not yet. So I'm going to make the not yet just like the gone. So by focusing on what's gone, I'm going to make the not yet just like the gone. So if a person was afraid of their house burning down in the future, they would be afraid of their house burning down in the not yet. So if you're worried about anything in the not yet, don't you see instantly how you are worried about something that doesn't exist? If you say not yet, sometimes when I say I'm looking for what's going to happen in the future, that sounds different than me saying I'm worried about something that's going to happen in the not yet. Because as soon as I said not yet, it means it hasn't happened. So I'm worried about something. I'm worried about if I can pay my rent in the not yet. So in this sense, then right now you don't have a problem because it's not yet. It's not yet. Now don't forget, with the Course in Miracles, it says you can take one of these truths and you can work that truth and it would lead you to every truth. So it's not about do I understand and do I remember every single thing that Earl says today. It's am I going to remember one thing that I heard him say today, and am I going to use that one thing consistently for the rest of the week? See, that's the trick. When you study the course and you think, even though what it said is really simple to remember, actually, because all it said to us was, the part of you that doesn't love you and wants to keep you suffering because it thinks that you don't deserve to be happy. Anybody familiar with that part? Okay, that part of you has a strange notion of time. Instead of using time to give you some fun, some joy, some abundance, and some peace, there's a part of your mind that just uses time to think about what happened in the past and worry about what's going to happen in the future. And that part of you that doesn't love you never lets you be here and never lets you be now. Okay, now what's hard to understand about that? The Course in Miracles says the past is the only aspect of time that's meaningful to the part of you that wants to keep grievances and fear and unhappiness going. The only thing it wants to think about is what happened in the past, because I can't keep that grievance against you unless I keep thinking about what I think you did to me in the past. So as long as I want to think about the past, then it's going to determine the way I'm going to deal with you in the future. And I'm going to keep having, if I didn't the past, and I let that attitude determine how I'm going to deal with you in the future, then I'm not going to trust you in the future. So in the future, I'll have the same experience of you as I had in the past, which is one where I have no trust with you and no love with you. So every time you refer to the past, the Course is saying to us, you guys need to understand that every time you focus on the past, you are literally letting that determine what your future experience is going to be. And then it says the part of you that doesn't love you is always going to be the part of you that called the ego that focuses on the past, because the ego wants to keep you and believe you deserve punishment and believes you don't deserve to be happy. So the easiest way to keep you that way is to keep you thinking about the things that happened in the past that you're making yourself upset and unhappy about. Okay? And then it says, then that's going to do what? It's going to determine my future. And guess what? My ego is the part of me that's fearful and upset. Okay? So the part of me that's fearful and upset, it can only continue to exist by thinking about the thing that upsets me, so I can be upset about it in the future. So that has ensured my ego's continuity. That has assured that my upset will continue. So what it just told us was how you stay upset all the time. Now, people always say to me, I don't want to be upset all the time. Okay, well, I'm telling you today how not to be upset all the time. Now, why is it that I don't want to hear this? Why would I go unconscious and you're about to tell me something as important as how to get rid of me being upset all the time? Well, because I want to be right more than I want to be happy. So I want to be right about the reason I think I'm upset, whatever that is. But you know what? Whatever you're upset about, you're still proving what the Course just said, because whatever you're upset about was something that happened in the past. So even if you are sitting up there right now saying, I don't agree with this, and you tell me something you're upset about, I'm sorry. I know that what you're telling me about is something that's not happening right now, and it's something that happened in your past. So that means you are avoiding being happy right now. And I want to ask you the question, why do you hate yourself so much that you don't think you deserve to be happy right now? Why do you dislike yourself so much that you will only think about right now the things that upset you so that you can be upset in the future too? So a person that doesn't love themselves are preoccupied with the past, and they don't realize that being preoccupied with your past right now is going to create that and recreate that for you in your future. So if you're focusing on how much lack there is in your life, or lack of abundance there is in your life, based on something that's happened to you in the past, do you know you are creating a future where you think that you have a lack of abundance still? So if you walked out of here today, or if you walked away from this today and we just remembered this one thing. Now, so let's see what the next sentence says, which is going to basically be the same thing said another way. Okay. It says, remember your ego's emphasis on guilt enables your ego to ensure its continuity. How does your fear ensure its continuity? By making your future just like your past. Why do I want to do that? Well, that's your way of avoiding being present right now. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the notion of paying for what you did in the past in your future. So that's the notion the Course just described. Something happened to me in my past, something I've done in my past, and I'm going to have to pay for in my future. And that's whatever it is you're feeling guilty about, whatever it is you feel guilty about, you believe there's going to be a day of reckoning about that in the future. Okay, so that's the Course in Miracles says the ego is the notion of paying for your past in the future. That's what the ego is. So if you're going to pay for your past in the future, then what are you doing? You're letting your past determine your future. You're letting what's gone determine what's going to happen in the not yet. Okay, so I don't want to be happy in the future. I want to be happy now. So every time you say you want to be happy in the future, you're saying, I want to be happy in the not yet. I want to be rich in the future. Oh, you want to be rich in the, oh, not yet. So you're saying to yourself, not yet, every time you focus on the future based on what you have experienced in the past. I had a bad relationship in the past. This woman deceived me and I got hurt in that relationship. So I'm going to let that determine how I'm going to see every woman that I meet in the future. Okay, so I'm letting my past experiences determine what's going to happen to me in the future. Sometimes when I'm counseling with people, they'll believe that something that they were not successful at in the past, that they really wanted to do and still would really love to do, they won't do it now because they keep remembering what happened in the past. And I have to keep reminding them the past means gone, and you aren't even the same person you were at that time when you had that experience. And it's also possible that your timing was off and your idea was fine. It was just, so don't ever judge something that you really want to do that it looks like you failed at and you don't attempt it anymore just because it didn't work out in the past. If you do that, you're letting what happened in the past determine what's going to happen in the future, so you're avoiding right now, which is when you can make the change. Okay, so you can see how this can apply to anything. If you want to make the Course in Miracles real, all you have to do is apply it to something specific. Like add that, like you could go, if I feel guilty about how I was acting in a relationship, and that's over, but I'm still thinking about what went wrong in the relationship, then I am going to create that same thing in the future in that relationship if I let what happened in the past determine what can happen in the future. So you should take some area of your life that you know you have any guilt and fear about, and then you should tell yourself, oh, I'm feeling guilty. That means I'm disobeying God. That means I'm disobeying the truth. Now, feeling guilty don't mean I disobeyed God because I smoked a cigarette and I said I wasn't going to smoke a cigarette. That's not what the Course is saying. The Course is saying when you feel guilty, it means you're disobeying God, because God teaches and teaches and teaches and tells us you aren't guilty, that you're innocent. So if I'm telling you that you're innocent and you're telling yourself that you're guilty, that's disobeying God, not that your dress was too short. So I'm feeling guilty about that. I personally say don't worry about that. I got a message from God. There's nothing to feel any guilt about whatsoever. Okay.
God likes those.
Then the Course also said, remember, no one with a personal investment is a reliable witness. So if I got a personal investment, don't listen to me. You know what I'm saying? You're not going. Don't ask your boyfriend whether or not it'd be good if you went out with this cute guy at work for lunch next week. Your boyfriend has a personal investment, so he probably won't be a reliable witness to whether or not you should do that.
Exactly.
If you want to get a pretty helpful, objective advice about something, go to people who have no investment in it at all. That's why you get some of your best advice on an airplane talking to a stranger. Because y'all are probably not going to ever see each other again, and you don't have any investment in what you're telling each other. So you just, another way to look at that. Have you ever been in a relationship and right at the end of the relationship, the person told you everything they thought about you? Mm-hmm. See, that they put out lube. So now they give you what I really didn't like. I really thought your feet stink. That's what I thought. I want you to know that your breath isn't too cool either. And I did never like any of the TV shows that you made me see. Why? Because I have no investment. So if I come out of that relationship and I feel like, God, that was the worst person, I chose the worst person I could have ever been with, then I'm going to then project that in the future and believe that I can also make a wrong choice again in a partner in the future. So always remember, whatever you say about yourself in the about your past, that is going to determine your future if that's what you use as your advice and the witness to your advice. And so people go, well, how do I stop doing that? First thing you have to do is realize you're doing it. See, what the Course in Miracles is telling us is stuff that we're not really conscious of. So it's always funny when people go, I hear that now, tell me what to do. No, he told you what to do. He told you to remember it. That's what should I do? Remember it. What do you mean? Remember that every time you're focusing on something that happened in your past, that's not happening right now because it's gone, you're going to recreate that same thing for yourself in the future. So if you keep focusing on how little abundance you had in the past, you're going to have little abundance in the future. If you keep focusing on how your loneliness and how you were mistreated by your parents in the past, then you're going to create unhappiness with your parents in the future, because every time you visit your mom and dad, you're going to remember what your daddy did, and so you're going to recreate unhappiness with your daddy, just like you've had unhappiness with your daddy in the past, because you're avoiding the present, and the present is right now, and in right now you could choose to see things differently. See, that's what right now means. Right now means I can choose to see things differently. Unless you're at choice, you're not in the now. Don't you know that you're only in the now when you realize you are at the point of choice? So how do we know when I'm being in the now? I will always know I'm in the now when I'm saying to myself, I can make a choice right now. I can make it. Okay, Earl's in the now. Why? Because he says he has a choice about how he's going to see this moment. I can see this moment with you as something that thrills me and heals me, or I can see this moment with you as something that doesn't really affect me and I don't really enjoy it at all. So I'm in the now. Why? Because I know I'm in the point of choice. And that's what makes me. Well, the interesting thing that the Course says is that the only power that we have left in the world is the power of decision, which is the power of choice. He said that's the last power we got. He said next to the last. He said y'all down to your last power. It's really funny when you really hear how Jesus of the Course talks. Say, well, I don't know how to break it to you, but you jokers are down to your last power. Or hey man, can you loan me some power? Like, well, that's what the purpose of a relationship is, for me to get your power. See, that's why I'm in a relationship with you, so I can get your happiness. That's what. So the Course in Miracles is saying, by the notion of paying for the past and the future. Everybody familiar with that? You're letting your past determine your future, which means you're letting the gone determine the not yet. And then it says that makes them continuous. That makes what continuous? What happened in the past, I was unhappy, and what's happening in the future is I'm unhappy. My unhappiness is continuous. There is no break in my unhappiness, because I'm letting the stuff I'm focusing on from the past that I'm unhappy about determine what I think is going to happen to me in the future. And so I am having the guilt and the unhappiness and the fear, and I'm making that continuous. That means without an intervening present. Now, what does that mean? The Course says, what does intervene mean? Let me show you. I'm miserable because of what my dad did to me, and I just can't trust him when I see him in the future. When I see him in the future, I'm not going to even like, I'm upset because of what my dad did to me. I'm going to be angry at him in the future. I'm upset. Hey, I'm the present. What you doing, man? I'm intervening. I'm intervening. You're thinking that what's going to happen to you in the future is based on what happened to you in the past, and I need to intervene. So God is intervening in our lives right now. Love is intervening. Truth is intervening. And it says, because the part of you that loves you will keep you all the time, continuously. And there's some people I know that just always miserable for one reason or another all the time. I've been that person. And I've been that person in the midst of blessings beyond my wildest dreams. What I have to forgive myself about the most is how much love there's been in my life that I didn't take advantage of it because I was such a butthole. I was just selfish and only thinking about myself and not being loving as I should be. not being grateful, and I look back and I see all the love that was in my life, and I have to forgive myself. And that is why the Course in Miracles, in the end, you're going to realize the only person that needs to be forgiven is you. And don't forget, forgive means correctly perceived. Correctly perceived. Correctly perceived. That's what forgiveness means. It means true perception. To correctly perceive is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not, I'm overlooking what you did to me because I am more spiritual than you. Forgiveness is, I am seeing this correctly, which is what I'm looking at is either love or call for love. What I'm looking at is something I've done in the past myself. There's a lesson in the workbook that says, I see only the past. So you're just seeing your own past all around you. What does that mean? It means that you have focused on your past, just like everybody else sometimes, and held on to a grievance and then projected that grievance in the future. So you're only looking at what you've done also. Everywhere around you, you're just looking at what you have done in the past also. If you see murder, that's a form of attack. You have attacked in the past also. You see somebody else depressed, you have been depressed also. There's nothing you're ever seeing that you haven't done, because according to the Course, all you're seeing is love or fear, and you had love and you've also felt fear. So the Course in Miracles is saying to us, come on back, that the ego regards the present only as a brief transition to the future. So when you're wrong-minded, I think the present is like that. It's just the present is this brief transition to the future, or this brief transition. So the Course in Miracles says, now what the fearful, angry part of you that wants to keep you unhappy, it says, I love it, it says what it does is it says, I'm going to use right now to bring what happened to you in the past, I'm going to bring that to your future. So how do you keep bringing the stuff that makes you unhappy from your past into your future? I'm going to tell you how you do that so you'll know how to catch yourself. He says it right here, interpreting the present in past terms. Every time I take right now, here you go. Right now, I'm a black man in America, so somehow I'm going to be oppressed in the future. So I am taking this present moment, I'm interpreting it in past terms. I can never be happy. No one can love me. I'm taking the present and interpreting it in past terms, and then I recreate it in the future. So the only reason why you are experiencing anything from your past that you don't want to experience in the future, all you have to do is stop interpreting your right now moment in terms of what you think happened to you in the past. Now, how do I do that? You tell yourself something else. You tell yourself something else. You tell yourself something other than what you told yourself in the past right now. So that means right now I got to start telling myself something different. And then the Course in Miracles says stuff like, well, why don't you say, I rest in God? Why don't you say, abundance is my natural state? Why don't you say, I'm sustained by the love of God? Why don't you say, there's nothing to fear? Why don't you say, I'm never upset for the reason I think? Why don't you say, I'm determined to see things different? Why don't you say, I bless the world because I bless myself? You know. I'll say it again. I will tell you, this is why, miserable person. I want to talk to a miserable person. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And when I say miserable person, I'm talking about everybody. You know, because the only thing that separates us is time. You may be feeling good right now, but if you be honest with yourself, there's been a time in the past you felt miserable. So time is an illusion. So I'll say this again. You don't walk out of here today with nothing else but this. The Course in Miracles says, if you keep on interpreting what could possibly happen to you in the future based on what's happened to you in the past, then you are interpreting your present in past terms, and I'm going to tell you, you're right. You're going to have the bum experience again. You're going to have the unhappy experience again. You're going to have the unhappy experience again. If you keep focusing on the unhappy experience, then you are going to have the unhappy experience again. But the only way you're going to have that unhappy experience again is you got to take right now and interpret right now in terms of what went wrong in the past. So when you look back through your past, do not ask yourself, what did I do wrong? You look back through your past saying, what did I do right? Yeah. Because if you ask the question, what did I do wrong? The mind through association is going to bring up everything wrong as far as it can go back in your mind to validate what's wrong with me. And it will exclude everything that would make you feel right. So whenever you say what's wrong with me, and then you feel bad, it makes sense, it should. Because you just asked to see everything that makes you unhappy about yourself. The problem is, it'll make you forget about all the blessings and all the cool things that happen. You know, all of a sudden you don't remember that. You know, I tell people, especially in relationships, The Course in Miracles is a book on relationships. Your relationship is more than the last thing that happened between you and that person that's got you upset. Your relationship is more than the last thing you're upset with the person about that y'all broke up about. That wasn't your entire relationship. Don't you remember that time that you were sick and they were there? Remember that time when you needed somebody to give you, say something wonderful they did? Remember that time? Remember that time? Remember that movie y'all went to that's walking? You remember all the loving thoughts and loving time? Do not make that relationship the last thing that you experience with that person, because you're using the past, and you will use your present to think of that past, and you recreate that past in the future, and you won't feel comfortable with that person. You won't feel comfortable around them because you brought your baggage. What is your baggage? The past. It's like a suitcase that you bring in with you. And somebody finally says to you, leave the suitcase. And if you're lucky, somebody will steal it. You know, all of y'all out there who want my baggage, just call it a date. And we'll start moving toward me giving you all my baggage as quick as I can. All right, okay, so this is the Course in Miracles. Read me slowly, do me slowly. So what does that mean? Then you can always go, well, what does that mean, Earl? Well, he says, now has no meaning to the ego. So a person who is into any kind of guilt or fear or unhappiness, being here right now doesn't mean anything. If I'm thinking about what happened to me in the past that I'm upset about, you get upset with people that tell you you're okay right now. People actually get mad at you when you go, but okay, everything's all right, bro. What you mean everything's all right? You know, that dude smacked me last night. Well, but right now is he smacking you? No, but, you know, yeah. But on the other hand, then I got somebody else to smack. Because I believe that's what happens to me in relationships, because I think about that happened to me in the past all the time. And I'm not using right now to remind me that I'm the innocent child of God. I am as God created me. I am spirit. See, what I like about the Course in Miracles is that it tells me how to interpret right now. It gives me the language to use to make sure I don't keep going through what I went through in the past, because I have a tendency to focus and live on the past. You know, it's amazing to me how much I think about my childhood. Yeah. And now I see all the things about my childhood that was cool. Where before, all I was doing was focusing on all the things about it that didn't make me feel good, which created what? Continual unhappiness in the future. So the Course says, now has no meaning in the ego. What does that mean? It means to a person that's in misery and wants to stay in misery, the past just reminds them of the hurts that they've experienced. So I'm a miserable person. I don't want to take responsibility for my happiness. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to, in this now moment, think about the stuff that I went through that hurt me in the past. I'm going to use right now to think about what hurt me in the past. And I'm also going to react to right now as if right now was my past. So I'm going to react to you as if you were the person you were yesterday right now. You may be around somebody right now, and you have to remind yourself to not react to them as if they were your past. You go to your job tomorrow, you have to remind yourself to stop reacting to that as if that is what happened. That what happened Friday has to happen Monday. So the Course in Miracles is saying, but when you want to be miserable, and you want to be miserable because you think you're separate from God and separate from love, the Course says the part of you that wants to punish you. I'm going to get you straight about something. You're unhappy because you are trying to punish yourself. You're not unhappy because of what somebody else has done to you. You're unhappy because you don't think you deserve to be happy. There's a part of you that doesn't think you deserve to have love. There's a part of you that thinks you're guilty and sinful and bad. Oh my, guilty and sinful and bad. Oh my, that's right. There's a part of you that frankly doesn't like you. You know that part of you. You know there's a part of you that doesn't like you whenever you're feeling upset with yourself. You call it, I'm upset with myself. So don't go into denial and be a bliss ninny, okay? The truth is, there's a part of you that sometimes it gets upset. And so the Course in Miracles is saying that part of you that's getting upset, it can only get upset when it thinks about something that's happened in the past and then projects it into the future. And so there's a part of you that thinks you're guilty and that can't tolerate you being released from your past. Although the past is over, there's a part of you that tries to preserve your past. And how do you preserve the past? By keeping on responding as if the past were the present. If I keep on acting like what happened to me in my past relationships has to happen to me right now, that's me not releasing the past. So when it says you need to release the past, how do you release the past? Stop thinking about it and focus on what you are being taught to tell yourself now. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. If you don't take the time to study your spiritual path, in my case it's the Course in Miracles, that's giving me the new interpretations that will allow me to get rid of the painful past. Okay, it's saying, well, it's the thoughts that you're holding on to from the past that are determining your future. So what you need new thoughts. But please don't you be the one that's supposed to come up with them and make them up. That's the other problem that you all have. You think it's up to you to give yourself the new interpretations that you need to have. And you don't have them because you're busy focusing on what you're so upset about for the past. So, that's why you can't come up with the positive thought when you want to cuss somebody out. Your mind's preoccupied. It's preoccupied with the stuff you think they've done that you're cussing them out about. So at that point, you can't give a new interpretation to the present. So you have to be at the point that you know what to tell yourself. Right now, I'm having a call for love. I'm having a big call for love. I'm having this big call for love for what I saw you do last night. Man, I'm having a big call for love right now for what I thought I saw you do last night. See, that's a new interpretation of the present. That's taking the past and giving it another interpretation. So that breaks that continuous unhappiness in the present, and then it allows me to have a future based on the truth that I'm giving myself right now. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, it's so simple that we will forget it. Because the ego is the part of the mind that believes in complexity. And the Course in Miracles doesn't give complex answers. It gives very simple answers that you could do today. Why don't I do it? Because you haven't forgiven yourself and you still think you deserve to suffer. You don't think you deserve to be. I'm going to say it, I'm the truth repetition teacher. Listen to me. Read my lips. The reason why you continually do what you do and don't pay attention to the new stuff that you're being told to do is you decided that the way for you to be okay again is to be punished because that's the way it probably was taught to you when you did something wrong. When I did something wrong as a kid, I got a spanking, and after I got the spanking, me and my mother were okay again. It was like a reset button, right? So the Course in Miracles is saying you all still have learnings from the past that are limiting you, and you still believe in those old learnings, like you're sinful or guilty or separate, even the old learning that you are a body, or the old learning that you are something that dies, or the old learning that you are a victim. If you see yourself as a victim in the present, you will experience yourself as a victim, and you'll also take it into your not yet and your future. That is why you're unhappy. You're unhappy because you're thinking about what you think something or someone or yourself has done to you in the past right now. And that recreates it and projects it into your future, and you have unhappiness in your future. It has nothing to do with the car you drive, how much money is in your bank account, how many lovers you got, what kind of clothes you wear, how much status you have in the world. None of that has anything to do with your happiness. Not one single thing that you want in the world outside of yourself has any real thing to do with your happiness. Everything in your world, tell me what you want, and I'll tell you what's not going to make you happy. Okay, here's the deal. You tell me what you want outside yourself, and I'll tell you what's not going to make you happy. And you go, what? No, it can't make you happy. But can you have happiness with it? Can you have happiness with everything in this world? Can you have happiness with everything you have? Can you have happiness with that relationship? Can you have happiness with that job? Can you have happiness with that body? Yes, you can have happiness with everything in the world, coming from the happiness within yourself. But every time you tell yourself something you're seeking out there is going to make you happy, then you're guaranteeing that you'll not have anything that can continually make you happy. And a master wants continuous joy and continuous happiness that has nothing to do with anything outside themselves. I was at a gathering last night, and I was saying, if I choose to have a relationship with someone, it is only because I'm choosing to have that relationship. I'm choosing to have that experience. I'm choosing to learn what that's going to teach me. I'm choosing to see if I can love more with someone. But does Earl Purdy think he needs a relationship? Not at all. Not at all. I don't think I need to have a special love relationship or a special relationship with anything in order for me to be happy. It took me a while to get to that point because it took me a while to believe I deserve to be happy. See, the ones you think you deserve to be happy, you don't have any tolerance for the BS you used to put up with, whether it's the BS coming from you or the BS coming from somebody else. One of the side effects of loving yourself is you don't put up with a lot of crap. And so people who are used to focusing on crappy stuff in their past and then recreating it in their future in order to punish themselves right now, they don't have time to try to do the things that make you happy because they're too busy working on their solution, which is to keep hell going for themselves all the time. So they got to make sure they choose the wrong person. They got to do it carefully. They got to make sure they overlook anything that person is saying that is revealing that you are probably going home with a serial killer. Okay, because they have the prettiest eyes you've ever seen, and they could be the last eyes you ever see. So just because something look good don't mean it is good. So the course, and so what is it that taught me that is how a person looks determines their value? I learned that in the past. And so if I still keep thinking that way now, then I'll still be looking at people based on how they look more so than the content of who they really are. And so of course I'm going to make the same mistake again, and then I'm going to recreate the same thing I did in the past. I love when people say they have a certain type that they're attracted to. There's just a certain type. Then what they're saying is, again, I'm focusing on what I focused on in the past, and then I want to experience whatever I experienced through that in the future, so I got to look for that same type. And I can only look for that same type based on what happened in the past. So is everybody beginning to get that? So how do I stop that problem? How do I stop? It says it. What you have to do is stop interpreting your right now moment in terms of what you went through in the past. It says it right here. The ego can't tolerate release from the past. Although the past is over, your ego, which is the part of you that thinks you deserve to suffer and is separate from God, he says that part of you tries to preserve its image by responding as if the past were present. So what the part of you that wants to be unhappy does is it dictates your reactions to those you meet right now, but you do it from a past reference point. So whenever I look at you and I think of you in terms of the experience I've had with other people like you, then I'm overlooking and hiding the fact that you are right here in front of me right now. So I don't have to reference anything that happened in the past. Why don't I just reference what you're doing right now? Y'all follow what I just said? If I'm not going to think about all women in terms of the women that I dealt with in the past, then whatever woman is in front of me, I'm going to focus on what she's doing right now, what she's expressing right now. that will give you the opportunity to break your pattern and have a new person unlike anybody else that you've ever been with that you enjoy better than anybody else, because in that moment you were not interpreting them based on your past experience of men or women. So what you did was you let them show up for you right now. I'm not your last boyfriend. I'm not your last employer. I'm not your last teacher. I know the ego says that there's wisdom in thinking about the present in terms of the past. But the Course says only if you want to recreate it again. And then it goes on to say, oh, this next sentence is really deep. He says, whenever you don't understand the Course in Miracles, just go, okay, he's going to say the same thing back to me, but he's going to say it another way. For instance, he says, if you follow the ego's dictates, you're going to react to the other. I'm doing this in plain language. You're going to react to the other person as though they were somebody else. So what does that mean? Me reacting to Demola as if he's somebody else. I just met Demola, and if I think about Demola in terms of the men that I met in the past that look like Demola, then I'm reacting to Demola as if he's someone else, as if he's someone from my past. So when me reacting to you as if you're someone else, it's me reacting to you like you were someone from my past. And he says that prevents something. And what is it that it prevents? If I react to you in terms of thinking about the past, then I think you're someone else. And that's going to keep me from recognizing who you are right now. Again, I'm not going to see who you are right now because I'm just seeing what I experienced in the past through somebody that reminds me of you. And so I'm treating you like the person that mistreated me in the past. So I'm not really seeing that you are not him or her. You're a brand new person. So that means I'm not recognizing you as you are. And who are you? Not my past. What's your name? I'm Earl, not your past. And matter of fact, I got some new snacks. Earl, not your past. And you can just get them. It's going to cost you 3 thoughts of innocence. And I'll let you have it at a bargain.
With no baggage.
That's right. So you follow what I'm saying? Every time you react to anybody based on the reference points that you're making about a person that wasn't that person, you won't recognize the gifts that that person can give you because they're really new. That's the release that they're offering you. And so the Course in Miracles says, now what's going to happen if you react to somebody as if they were your past? But he says, the Course tells you everything's going to happen to you. He said, well, the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to start receiving messages from that person out of your past. That means that by making your past real right now, what you're doing is refusing and forbidding yourself to let your past go. So how do I want to keep my past going? I want to react to everybody as if they were somebody I met in the past, and I won't recognize them for what they are. And since I'm looking for messages out of my past, that's all I'm going to be hearing anyway, because I'm making what happened to me in the past with that last guy real in the present. And so whenever I make what happened in the past real right now, I'm just trying to keep what happened in the past from leaving. So the Course in Miracles says, you're forbidden to let your past go every time you focus on how broke you've been in the past and you've never been prosperous and abundant in the past. He says, well, you're actually forbidding yourself to let it go because you're interpreting your present in those limiting past terms. And so that's going to determine your future. And you find yourself right back in a situation that you see yourself as in lack. So what do you have to do? You have to start interpreting right now in a new way and not through the past. Are you with me on this? And then I tell you, your spiritual path is the easiest way to do it, because the new thoughts that you need are already there and you don't have to think them up. See, that's what I fight. And even if you fight against the thoughts, if it's a true thought, it really doesn't matter if you fight against it or not. It doesn't change it. So you don't even have to get upset with yourself about always fighting stuff. It's like, you can see yourself as guilty and bad and no good as much as you want. It doesn't change the fact that you are sinless and guiltless and innocent. So you can say those things about yourself as much as you want. It's not going to change anything about your experience. When I was a kid playing cowboys and shooting and guns and all that kind of stuff when you were a kid, and I would have my little armies fighting each other and wiping out whole platoons, my mother, while she was cooking, didn't go, oh my God, that soldier, you killed that soldier. At no point did she think I was in danger in my imaginary game. That's what is happening with us here. Exact same thing. We're children gods, and we're having this experience that we are creating ourselves, and we're innocent and loved no matter what, and nothing can destroy us. So we can either have a game of destruction or a game of joy. There are war games and there are peace games, but the truth is nobody dies. Nothing has happened to anything that's real, and you are still loved and innocent no matter what you think about yourself. Now, if you don't want to believe that you deserve love, then all you have to do is keep thinking about what happened to you in the past that you're upset about right now. So you'll interpret your right now in those terms, and I guarantee you, you'll have your unhappiness in the future. So those of you who want to stay unhappy, I want you to thank me for teaching you how to stay that way. Okay, so now you know if you want to be miserable, you know what you got. What you have to do? I have to keep on thinking about what happened in the past, and look, and right now think about what my daddy did to me, and then that'll determine the attitude and experience I have with my dad in the future, even if he's not even in the body. You know, I've been carrying around a picture of my father as wallpaper because in this dream it looked like my father was not there in the way that you would want your father to be there. And so I had grievances against my father. And so then I started to love myself and be so selfish in the love of myself that I didn't want to keep a grievance going that would keep me unhappy. You see, I'm selfish, y'all. I value my happiness and joy so much now that I'll do whatever it takes to keep it. Yes. And so I know that if I keep on holding on that grievance against my father, then it's going to have a negative effect on me in the future. And all I need to do is interpret what happened in the past in terms that the Course would say. Well, they go, but my father had a big call for love. My father really had misperception about himself. My father wasn't loving himself the way he should. See, now, if I have that interpretation of the past and I project that interpretation into the future, then that's the future of, Earl, what you're doing and what you're seeing is a call for love. It is forgiveness. You see what I'm saying? So then I'll experience the love if I interpret even the past from the perspective of the truth. But I can only do that when? Right now. So I've got to tell myself things that are different right now. And then to show you how beautiful the Course in Miracles is, it'll turn around and tell you that since it's eternal, it'll always be there, because eternal means permanent. And so if something is permanent, whenever you decide you're ready for it, it's there, because it never ends. So you have abundance that's waiting for you. You have relationships that are joyful beyond your wildest dreams that are waiting for you. You have peace and freedom that's waiting, because it's eternal, it's permanent, it's waiting for you. But it's waiting for you to decide that you don't want to be unhappy anymore. And how you'll know when you've decided you don't want to be unhappy anymore is you will stop interpreting your past and focusing in on your past in this present moment, because that's going to recreate it for you in the future. And then people say, well, what do I think about? Well, you got two choices. You can go to your spiritual path and you can start telling yourself what your spiritual path is telling you to do, or you could interpret the way that you're thinking and feeling in new ways. And you could go, what I used to call anger, I call my call for peace. You know, what I used to call depression is my desire for happiness. You know, Earl, how are you feeling today? I had a deep call for love at work. Don't you think happened to me? See, that's what it was, no matter what my emotional response is. As a matter of fact, if I can get an emotional response, I have a more powerful experience of it. So I could use my anger to make things better for me, because I could put that energy behind the thought of, I am free. You know, I'm not about it. I am not a bad person. I am not guilty. I'm innocent. See, I could say that with that kind of other, I'm mad at you. I hate you. Look, dude, I want to see you differently. I hope I'm wrong about you, white man. I hope I'm wrong about you, man of color. See, it could be that going on. I need to go beyond my past with you, man. And he said, I need to go beyond my past with you, man. You follow what I'm saying? You know, we are supposed to be using those interpretations for people until they will learn to use those kind of interpretations for themselves. So whenever you all are talking anything that y'all talking to me, I have to fess up to y'all. I'm interpreting it and totally differently probably than what you are saying to me. I'm taking everything you say to me and I'm seeing it as a call for love or a call for help. It doesn't matter what you're saying. Because if it's the same thing, no matter what you're saying, that's all that matters. And then I don't have to be worried about what people think all the time, or worried about what they're thinking about me. Well, I said either they loving Earl or they want to love him. That's the only thing happening. Either people love me or they want to. So don't forget that if you want to break a pattern that's making you unhappy, all you have to do is not interpret the present in past terms, which means you have to give yourself some new thoughts. The Course in Miracles is full of new thoughts. All true spiritual teachings and paths are full of new thoughts. That's the problem. You have to make up your mind that you don't want to be punished and you don't want to suffer anymore. Because it's not until you decide that you don't deserve to be punished that any of this truth stuff is going to start to ever make any sense to you, or you're going to really be as motivated to do it as you should. If I think I should be punished, I'm certainly not going to want to pay attention to something that says it will end my punishment for all time. That's why somebody that doesn't love themselves, you get in a relationship with them and you're as loving as you can possibly be, and sometimes they'll turn on you because they think you're untrustworthy and that you're deceiving them, because nobody could possibly love somebody as bad as me. So I know nobody could love anybody as bad as me. So if you're treating me well, I think you're the greatest deceiver of all. You're the one that's trying, because I know I don't deserve the way you treat me, so you got to be trying to deceive me what you're trying to get. And that's how sometimes people get disappointed when they fall in love with people who have very low self-esteem, and they think they're going to rescue them. And then it looks like they invest all that energy, and the person turn on them, and they're like going, why? Well, because I don't believe I deserve anything that you were giving me, and I got to prove to you I don't deserve the love you were giving me. So I'm going to treat you better than anybody. I'm treating the person who treated me nice better than anybody. Now, see, I'm right about how bad I am. And people would rather be right than to be happy. Sometimes people would rather be right about how horrible they are. So then you go, well, what do? Well, I've got to make sure that when I meet that person, I don't interpret them in terms of anything that I've experienced with a person like that from the past. Remember to tell myself something that the truth is teaching me, so that I'll project this present into the next present. So the Course says it works like this. I am peaceful in this moment. If I stay peaceful in this moment, it will take me into the next moment of peace. If I can stay sane in this moment, that sanity will be with me and take me into sanity and peace in the next moment. If I keep on thinking the truth and it gives me the peace that I'm looking for right now, that same truth, if I keep focusing on it, will give me peace in the next moment. I'll stay, so that each present moment extend to the next present moment, rather than I'm taking something that upset me from the past and I'm interpreting my future in terms of that past happening again, so I stay miserable. So that's the function of time. To the part of you that doesn't love you, the function of time is to keep you unhappy. The part of you that loves you, the purpose and the function of time is to get rid of every block to your happiness right now. All right, okay, so the last sentence says, when you forbid yourself to let the past go by making it real in the present, by receiving messages from people out of your own past because you're thinking of them in terms of what happened to you in the past, he says, you are forbidding yourself to let the past go. And if you do that, what are you doing? You're denying yourself the message of release that everybody could give you right now. It's like you came here to give me a message of love. You came here to release me. I'm so busy dealing with you as if you're the past and if you're my past grievances that you can't even get a word in edgewise. That you can't give me that message of love and happiness that you were really sent to give me, because I'm too busy attacking you and denying love to you, because I'm seeing you in terms of the bad, negative, fearful experience that I had in the past. And so I don't get a chance to see who you are right now. You could be the coolest person that's an answer to a prayer from me, but I'm so busy looking at you through past lens that I can't hear the message of love that you may be sent to give me right now. So today, what you heard today was how to end your unhappiness. I think that's a worthwhile topic to have gotten. We were given from the Course in Miracles very specific things to remember to keep us from being unhappy all the time. You now have you now have no excuse. I took away your excuse. You can't say that no matter how you're feeling right now, that you couldn't get out of that there wouldn't be another way to look at it, that I just gave it to you from the course. So if you don't do it, you're innocent. If you don't do it, you're loved. If you don't do it, nobody's going to punish you. But I'll tell you this, if you don't do it, you want to continue whatever state you're in.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it means you have come up with a plan for your happiness, and it involves you suffering first. So the course is taking your suffering away, but if you think suffering is necessary for your happiness, you're not going to listen to a guy that's saying you don't need to suffer, so you won't pay attention to the non-suffering rules, and you'll keep focusing on the suffering rules, which means you will not trust me because you're doing the same thing, reacting to some learning you got in the past. And so that's why you can't trust me, because you're not seeing me as the person who is in the present with you that could give you a message that's totally different from what you heard from any other person ever. See, that's what I want. That's why I'm trying to take a lot of my scripts off people so that I can not be bored, because I realize it's my boring scripts that's boring me with people. I have a way I think they should be, and I'm looking to them to be that way and to make them that way. I'm trying to mold them. And so if I set up a way you should act, and then I don't want you to act any other way than how I want you to act, after a while I'm going to get bored with you because you're going to be doing the same thing over and over again. So in order for me to have a now experience of joy, I got to stop doing that from my past and now say, who are you? What do you want? How can I help you? What can I support you in? And it trips people out because it reminds them how little they have any goals for themselves. So when you say that to people, what do you want? How can I help you? What can I do to support you? Most of the time they say nothing, which is great. Because then you get a chance to feel good because you offered, but you didn't have to do anything. You know. So you get a chance to feel all noble and stuff, you know. I was trying to support everybody, you know. But most people don't know what they want, so they go, well, I don't know what you should do. You get, well, I'm here. you know. So the truth is always easier than what we do. It's always easier than what we do. All right, so I'm gonna wrap this up right now. See, I lose track of time when I'm doing this because I would much rather hear this than anything anybody says to me, including myself. Most people's conversations are not nearly this interesting. Or fulfilling, unless they're coming from their heart. I know that sincere communication is very satisfying. Even if somebody's upset, but they really sincerely are, it's still more powerful, right? So I want to thank you, those of you who would like to make a love offering, a donation, which I'd surely appreciate as a full-time teacher. Just go to www.earlpurdy.com, P-U-R-D-Y. And if you use Venmo, my email address is earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. And those of you who are here, there it is. And if you want to. Okay, let's go with this one more time for a minute before we run out. Let's get this. There's a part of you that tries to keep you in misery. And what that part does is tries to use guilt because it needs guilt. So the part of you that wants to make you unhappy, it needs guilt to do it. So the part of you that wants you to suffer, wants you to focus in on past hurts. The part of you, the ego that believes you are separate from God, it wants to keep you upset. Through focusing on past unfairnesses and injustices that you think were done to you right now. When you want to be unhappy, do you know that when you want to be upset right now will not have any appeal to you? When you get upset, you don't want to remember that in the moment you're upset, you are safe right now. You're standing there in front of the person, you're standing there in front of the person, perfectly safe, complaining about what you're upset about. I want you to hear what I'm saying. You're upset while you are safe. That's what I mean. You're standing there right in front of the person, all upset about something. Because when you're upset, right now has no meaning. The fact that you're okay right now has no meaning. And so there's a part of you that doesn't want to release you from the past. But you're ready to release yourself from the past right now. And this is how you do it. And I'm going to make it really real. Let's use a person for an example. You just met this person. And your ego is going to tell you to judge this person based on what you experienced with a person like this in the past. Someone tells you that they love you and you doubt it because you are dealing with that person like that person was the person in the past that said they loved you and they didn't really mean it or know how. I'll say that one more time. There could be people in your life telling you stuff like, I value you, I treasure you, I love you, I want the best for you. And if you're doubting that and if you're having suspicion about that, it means you are doing what? You are thinking of those people in terms of the people in the past that said those things to you. And so you're not recognizing that that person in front of you isn't the same person from your past who really was kicking your butt. So you have to remind yourself, when you're upset, you tell yourself, I'm upset because I'm seeing something that isn't there. I'm upset because I'm seeing something that isn't there. I'm seeing only the past. That's all. I'm seeing only the past when you're upset. So you need new interpretations in the present when you get upset. This is the answer. Listen to the answer. What is the answer? You need new interpretations when you are upset. You need new interpretations when you are afraid. You need new interpretations when you are angry, and your spiritual path gives you new interpretations. So my spiritual path is a Course in Miracles. So I go to the Course in Miracles when I need new interpretations of whatever I'm going through. Because then I'm not interpreting my present in terms of the past. So I won't project that negative past experience into the future. So what am I saying? I'm saying that you need to study, you need to meditate, you need to take the time to read, you need to take the time to focus on the truth. Because how can you tell yourself the new thoughts if you can't remember them? How can you tell yourself the truth if you can't remember it? See, I remember to tell myself, Earl, you need to shut up because you're beginning to feel anger. And anger means you are not interpreting something correctly. That came from the Course. But if I hadn't read it, I wouldn't know to tell myself that and move toward that, right? So I'm saying, stop trying to figure out things that have already been figured out for you. You already have the answers. Your job now is to love yourself enough to want to motivate yourself to change. The Course in Miracles says you can't change anybody, but this is what you can do with that mate, with that child, with that whatever, that person you want to change. What could you do? The Course says all you got to do is, to the best of your ability, motivate that person. Motivate that person to want to change their own mind. Be the kind of person that a person will want to make themselves a better person just because of being around you and the influence that you had on them. They go, man, if I can have a life like you, you're so peaceful, you're so loving, you're so kind. Oh, I'd like to be like you. I'd like to be like you. So all you can do is try to motivate your child to want to change their own minds. The best you can do is motivate your partner to want to change their own minds. And you could even go faster by being willing to motivate yourself to change your mind. See, I'm motivated. We are motivated. We are motivated. We are motivated. I'm available for clarity sessions. Just go to my website. www.earlpurdy.com. It tells you all about my services. I'm here just to be helpful. So, mighty companions, one more time, though I am blessed as a child of God. 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 We are blessed as children of God. We are blessed as children of God. We are blessed as children of God. Thank you, mighty companions. Y'all awesome.